Welcome to the presentation of our internal audit solution. Our demonstration will be divided into 3 parts: the preparation, the execution, and the follow-up. During the preparation, we will see how to define our audit plan from the different reports that exist in the solution. Then we will move on to the execution part, where we will see how to automatically generate our work program and carry out the different audits. Finally, we will be able to see how to globally follow up the progress of the audit plan and the implementation of the recommendations that were issued during the execution of the audits. To do so, I will use 3 different profiles: David, who will be our audit director, Laura, who will be our auditor, and Miriam, who will be our auditee. I connect to the solution using an audit director profile named David. As such, I can prepare my audit plan thanks to various decision-making reports in the solution. For example, the audit coverage report will allow me to analyze over a given period which missions have been carried out according to a specific universe, either the entities or the processes or even the risks. And for each of these topics, I will be able to identify which elements have not been audited for a certain period, and I will be able to add them to my current audit plan or to a potential one. The audit plans are presented in the solution as a hierarchical view. I can see all the audit plans we've already done and the current plan for today. From the ID page of an audit plan, I will be able to access the list of all the audit assignments that we have already created. These elements are in the form of an Excel sheet with standard attributes that can be exposed or hidden and columns that can be sorted. Moreover, I can schedule graphically my various missions based on existing ones. In that way, I can plan new audits based on what has already been done in the past. Beyond that, I can assign resources based on both their availability and their skills. For the audit IT material and service purchasing, I can assign Bill and Edward because I can see that they have the required skills. However, it turns out by looking at the Gantt chart report that Edward is already staffed on another mission, and therefore it would be easier and wiser to assign Bill to the assignment. As an audit director, I have access to all the recommendations that were issued with their priority, status, and owners, and to reports that will enable me to supervise in an efficient way the audits of my audit plan in terms of priority, score, but also workload resources and resource allocation. The Gantt report available on the audit plan will allow me to follow the progress of this audit plan according to the different audits that we have planned and the different resources who are working on it. Now, let's connect to the solution with Laura, who is our auditor. As an auditor, I have access to the various missions that were assigned to me. I can therefore generate my work program either from the different templates that we have in the solution or from the description of the activity that will be audited on the assignment. For each test that I have to perform, I will be able to identify the different findings. For each finding, I can choose a name, a type, if it is a weakness or strength, the level of impact of this finding on our organization, and the description of this finding. For every finding, I can also attach a recommendation with its name, a priority, a deadline for the implementation of this recommendation, and a description. For every recommendation, we will assign an auditee who will receive an email to connect to the solution and implement the recommendation. Once all the work has been completed by the entire team, I am able to generate the audit report, which will cover all the elements of our mission, with all the information that was brought up. In the audit report, we will find the objectives of the mission, the strong and weak points, the operational managers who were audited, the audit team, the scope of the mission, and all the urgent findings and recommendations that were reported, with, for each recommendation, the potential risks identified and the people responsible for this recommendation. This report can then be sent and shared with the audit director. Now, let's connect with the profile of our auditee, Miriam, who will have to implement the recommendations that have been reported. As an auditee, I have various shortcuts on my homepage which allow me to access the information under my responsibility. I can therefore access the list of all the recommendations that were assigned to me. These recommendations are grouped by status, which allows me to focus on the recommendations for which I must give a progress report. From the ID page of a recommendation, we will be able to attach documents which will serve as proof of its implementation. Of course, I can update the progress of my recommendation and submit it via the workflow to the audit team for validation. Now, let's connect with David, our audit manager, to see how he can both follow up the implementation of the audit plan and the various recommendations. For this, I have a remediation section where I will find the distribution of all the recommendations that have been raised at the level of the audit plan according to different statuses. I will be able to access the recommendations that are overdue, and from the workflow, ask the person in charge of the recommendation to update the progress of his recommendation. The tool will take care of notifying the person responsible by email so that he can update the progress of his recommendation. That concludes this presentation of our internal audit solution.